young educated, have a degree but don't have a job? That's the critical question facing this country, and indeed in particular the large number of young people of this country. What's the solution to make growth in this country more job driven? Joining me now, three young men who have their own suggestions and solutions. Chetan Bhagat, man of many parts, author, television host, script writer, and also an IITian in one part of his life. Professor Manjul Bhargava, who is the country's leading mathematician, has won the highest prize that you can get for maths. The Fields Award is a rarity in that sense in India, a true mathematics scholar in the grand traditions of Aryabhatta and others. And Professor Anand Kumar of the Super 30 group, which in a sense brings young people from poorer rural backgrounds and gives them a chance to appear for the IIT and actually get into the IITs. Appreciate all of you joining us. That fundamental, lots of young people are educated, they have great degrees, but they don't have a job today. What's the solution?
Yeah, no, and it's a very grave magnitude. As you were discussing earlier, it's around 1 crore jobs a year that is needed.
That's right. Every month, 10 lakh people on an average are coming into the job market but are not getting jobs. That's the scale of the problem.
And that is a very, very big problem. And we really, I guess, need to be firing on all cylinders, that the Make in India needs to work, and the people, these 1 crore kids have to be employable, they have to be given the right skills. And I personally feel there's still not going to be enough jobs. You can't have 1 crore jobs a year. So you need to teach them how to be entrepreneurial, how to be self-employed, how to open small businesses. And I don't think we are realizing the magnitude of the problem yet.
You know, we need more plumbers, we need more electricians, we need more carpenters, we need more truckers. Do you believe that we should have a trucking school, a school for plumbing, or call it home infrastructure, which is a word that you've used?
Yeah, as we were discussing, some of these professions, you know, they have been seen as a B grade or C grade professions and not as mainstream. But at the end of the day, these professions also add a lot of value, whether you call it plumbing or home infrastructure or, you know, or beauty parlors or anything. I think these can sometimes, learning about these skills can add more skills to your life. Of course, many people who can get into IIT, it's great, but what about for people who will not get into IIT? Don't they deserve a life of dignity, of a certain per capita income, and how are we going to give them that?
You know, that is a critical question that we have to answer, and I'll come to you, Manjul, on that even being a mathematician in this country, that it doesn't seem to be an attraction. Why should I do maths? Why should I do maths for the rest of my life? When 20 years ago, there was an attractiveness of even getting a BSc and in the belief that that science degree would get me a job. Today, even a BSc is not attractive for many young people. A BA is not, a BCom is not. How do you make a degree in the first place a little bit more attractive, particularly in a changing job market?
I think it requires a change in mindset. If people are talented in mathematics or have an interest in mathematics, they should go into mathematics. They shouldn't think that, oh...
But what will I do being a man? Not everybody can be a Professor Manjul Bhargava. What will I do if I'm a young boy who's interested in maths? How do I pursue my career and make it attractive to a changing economy?
Well, if one follows one passion, one gets a liberal education, an education that isn't just unidirectional and only focuses on a tiny area of engineering, then the job prospects are much wider than if you're in a very narrow area. And it's also, the job prospects are better if you're following what you really enjoy doing, because then you will find a way to apply it. You will find a way to be entrepreneurial. You'll find a way to apply the talents and the passions you have to start your own business, to start a new education program, to start something on your own, not just go into what a unidirectional education program.
But do you think our teaching system militates against that? Our teaching system doesn't encourage you to think creatively, to believe that even as a mathematics student you could maybe, you know, have an entrepreneurial edge to your mathematics?
It definitely does. Yeah, our teaching system is also is sometimes very much based on rote. It's not based on creativity. It's not based on finding answers in your own way. That definitely needs to change. The creativity in education definitely needs to be brought in, so that when one graduates, one can start to think in one's own way, instead of how you were taught to do it in school, by certain steps. You follow them like a robot, And then when you come into the real world, you can't apply those same steps exactly as you were told. You have to have a way of...
Yeah, that's right. It's interesting that education is robotic. But, Anand Kumar, for those young boys who are coming from small towns and villages in Bihar, robotic education एक बात होती है, लेकिन वो IITian बनना चाहते हैं और आप उनका सपना साकार कर रहे हैं, बट केवल 30 लोग होते हैं जिनका सपना साकार होता है. बाकियों का क्या होगा? What happens to the rest of the people who are talented, who have academic skills? उनका क्या होगा?
हमारा मानना है कि स्कूली शिक्षा जो हमारी है वो बहुत अच्छी होनी चाहिए ताकि हर तबके के लोगों को IITian IIM में जाने का मौका मिलना चाहिए. अगर उस लायक न हो उसके बाद फिल्टर करके उन लोगों के लिए, जैसा कि पहले पूर्व वक्ताओं ने कहा, प्लम्बर का काम हो, इलेक्ट्रिशियन का काम हो, ये सिखाना चाहिए. ये बहुत ही जरूरी है. लेकिन शुरुआती दौर में सबको अपॉर्चुनिटी मिलना चाहिए, सबका हक है. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि कोई बच्चा गरीब घर का है तो उसको जबरदस्ती प्लम्बर सिखा दे. मैंने देखा है मंजुल जी के बातों को अगर ध्यान दिया जाए कि बहुत बच्चों में एक्स्ट्राऑर्डिनरी मैथमेटिक्स का टैलेंट होता है, लेकिन उसमें दबाव बनाया जाता है इंजीनियर बनने का, और फिजिक्स केमिस्ट्री और सब चीज़ों को लेकर उन पर इतना दबाव बनता है कि मैथमेटिक्स का स्किल और इंटरेस्ट उनका लूज हो जाता है.
लेकिन आप कह रहे हैं कि पहली जो समस्या है इक्वालिटी ऑफ अपॉर्चुनिटी. एवरीबॉडी शुड हैव अ चांस टू गो टू अ गुड स्कूल. अगर वो बच्चा दरभंगा से हो या छोटे शहर से हो तो उसको वो मौका नहीं मिलता है, तो प्रॉब्लम वहीं से शुरू होती है.
जी हाँ, वहीं से होती है. और उनमें हीन भावना आती है कि मैं पढ़ने में तेज हूं, मैं स्कूल में जाता हूं, अच्छा करता हूं, लेकिन स्कूल में टीचर नहीं आते हैं, स्कूल के खिड़की दरवाजे चोरी हो गए, मैं प्लम्बर मिस्त्री क्यों बनूं? उनके दिमाग में ये बातें आती हैं. और मेरे में टैलेंट है फिर भी मैं ये काम क्यों करूं? तो उनको इक्वल अपॉर्चुनिटी मिलता है. और जो बच्चे नहीं सर्वाइव कर पा रहे हैं हायर एजुकेशन के लिए, उनको प्लम्बर बनाए, अच्छी बात है, उनको रोजगार मिलेगा.
You know, the one issue is equality of opportunity. One issue is dignity of labor, which in this country doesn't seem to exist at certain levels. The other question is also the English language. Yeah. Some people have access to the English language, and as you become a more service sector driven economy, the hospitality sector, other sectors are driven by your ability to learn the English language, which also creates a divide.
I think if there is one skill, and which is actually a very fixable problem, is if you leave everything else, just teach English en masse to a lot of young Indians. It opens up employment opportunities. It opens up opportunities to learn on your own, on the internet, on YouTube, which is largely in English, and then you can figure out something in life, and it is a big empowering tool.
Because a lot of English speaking centers are emerging in small town India. The question is, how do you create a level playing field? How do you equip, to take Anand Kumar, how do you equip all young Indians to have the same skill set so that they can truly compete in a job market?
I would say something complementary to what you said, which is we should have more YouTube videos, more online resources for people to learn in Hindi and in native Indian languages.
You could do that too.
Those are missing. Makes it very difficult for some young people to learn.
You could do that, or
so are you saying that even are you saying that even if you were, let's say, from a relatively deprived background, or a school, you go to a school which doesn't have the same resources, online technology can maybe become an empowering tool?
Yeah, like I'll tell you, I have 10-year-old boys, and they had their PlayStation, and they wanted to put 500 gigabyte hard drive on it. I have no idea how to do it, and they went on YouTube and they said how to change the PS3 hard drive, and they figured out and they did it, and nobody taught them, and they're 10-year-olds and they know what a screwdriver, how it works and all that. So either you make it in Hindi, but eventually you have to give these people English, and I've seen there is a big hunger for it. Part of the reason why my books are successful is they read it to learn English. So we have to come, and within English it's almost a separate discussion. There is a lot of elitism in the language. If we come up with a simplified vocabulary, which is a basic English, not the kind of English taught in modern school or like the top schools of Sanskriti or whatever, and then we teach it to all. Roman English, for example, is a big area we have not explored at all. All kids in India are using WhatsApp. अगर उसे हिंदी में बात कर रहा है लेकिन वो लीपी इंग्लिश की ले रहा है, have we thought about Roman English and the power of Roman English? So a lot of these issues have not been discussed.
But along with that is the issue of courses perhaps which are more skill oriented. You know, at the moment the obsession is still either doctor or engineer ban jao, ya IAS chale jao, go to the IAS, become a doctor or engineer, or it is that I need to get my BSc and BCom degree somehow or the other. Do you believe that we can go beyond the whole obsession with this degree of a BA, a BSc or BCom?
Well, either that or one can make prestigious degrees in other subjects.
Yeah.
So why does everyone have
Give
to
me
go,
an example.
Why does everyone have to go get a BE at IIT? Why aren't there good bachelor's programs or technical programs where one learns to be an electrician of the highest quality, learns to be the farmer of the highest quality? Farmers can be educated in the job that they do, and there should be prestigious.
So you reorient our entire higher education to make it much more aligned to a job market.
Make it more inclusive of many different disciplines. It shouldn't just be engineering.
But then it needs to be cutting edge. You know, it shouldn't be a very patronizing kind of plumbing course. It should be cutting edge electrician, world class, cutting edge farming. Then it becomes.
In other disciplines other than engineering, other than medicine, other than business.
Like this country needs world class liberal arts institutes. This country needs, institutes that don't just, have the average BA, but actually give you, whether you're doing psychology, whether you're doing sociology, give you world class degrees. But क्या उनके लिए वो सपना होगा? वही बच्चे जो आज आईआईटी में जाते हैं, क्या एक दिन उनको एक सपना होगा कि कुछ और करते हैं, कुछ अलग करते हैं, एंटरप्रेन्योर बनते हैं? क्या कितने जो बच्चे आपके पास आते हैं उनमें क्षमता है या वो एक सपना है कि मैं एंटरप्रेन्योर बनूं, दैट आई वांट टू बी एन एंटरप्रेन्योर, नॉट जस्ट गेट एन आईआईटी डिग्री?
सबसे बड़ी बात है, एक बात मैं बोलना चाहूँगा मंजुल जी के सपोर्ट में कि इन्होंने कहा डिग्री का इंपॉर्टेंस जितना है उससे ज़्यादा नॉलेज का है। कितना आप क्रिएटिव होते हैं, कोई भी कॉन्सेप्ट पढ़ते हैं उसका हाउ एंड वाई कितना आप सीखने का प्रयास करते हैं।
क्या आईआईटी वाकई आपको क्रिएटिव बनाता है या आईआईटी भी अब रोट लर्निंग में चला गया है?
बस आईआईटी में इस बात की चर्चा ज्यादा होती है कि किसको कितना का पैकेज मिला, इसकी कम होती है कौन कितना इनोवेशन किया। तो ऐसी जरूरत है। और आपके सवाल के जवाब में मैं कहना ये चाहूँगा कि हमारे बच्चे जो आते हैं अपना कुछ नया कर रहे हैं, और सबसे खुशी की बात है कि कई ऐसे बच्चे जो पढ़ाई पूरी करने के बाद कुछ दिन अमेरिका में नौकरी करने के बाद या दिल्ली बॉम्बे में नौकरी करने के बाद अपने गाँवों में स्कूल खोल रहे हैं, अपने गांव में छोटी कंपनी लगा रहे हैं। ऐसे बच्चों की संख्या भी बहुत कम है, लेकिन नया सोच रहे हैं, ये बहुत अच्छी बात है।
एक तो पे पैकेज होता है, वी हाईलाइट पे पैकेजेस, द अदर थिंग्स दैट वी हाईलाइट इज कट ऑफ्स। If I want to get a BCom course, I have to get 98.5 or even 99, otherwise I won't get into an SRCC. And there are these 3 or 4 colleges that are supposed to dominate the mindset of many young students. Is there a problem with that also, this obsession with cutoffs, or is it simply that there are far too few institutes and we are just 1.2 billion people in this country, 10 lakhs coming to the job market?
We have not created more temples of excellence, if you can, what Nehru used to call them. We have not created more brands than IIT and that, and there is a huge demand in the population going towards stability. If you open any matrimonial, everybody says well settled boy. This word settled is there only in India. Settle हो गया, आप settle हो जाओ, settle हो गए means no risk taking. So any risk taking in terms of trying to try a different profession or taking a certain entrepreneurial risk is not encouraged. Apart from
they don't say in a classified become like Chetan Bhagat IITian who decided to try.
They don't say that. They don't say become like a news anchor needs a bride, or they don't say a neta needs a bride, which I don't know it's a good thing or a bad thing. But those matrimonials tell you what the society aspires to, and I think the idea of getting your kid into SRCC is not that मेरा बेटा best commerce पढ़ेगा. It is इसका कुछ life में हो जाएगा. That's the underlying thing. People are sending people. We are not very scientific people. हम IIT भेजते हैं, मैथ्स में अच्छा इसका कुछ हो जाएगा, लेकिन उसे एग्जाम से पहले दही खिलाते हैं हम कि भाई एग्जाम अच्छा करना.
No, but maybe the answer is no. Let's be clear. We also need more doctors. We also need better engineers. We probably need more IITs.
Actually, even the IITs can be improved a lot,
sure,
in the sense that the kind of education you get in an IIT is a very narrow.
The filtering.
It really caters.
Actually, the degree.
One by one. Yes.
Sorry.
It really caters to the left side of the brain, the right side of the brain, the creative side. The artistic side is not developed even in the IIT. So the people who come out of IITs are technically extremely competent, but not necessarily innovative, because they've never sort of done that creative side, the artistic side, the humanities side.
Is that problem with the teachers, the kind of teachers that we have? Because at the end of the day, teaching also is not a very rewarding profession at the moment in this country. The sense is whether in schools or colleges, the best and brightest don't go into teaching. So how are you going to create these quality professionals?
Yeah, there is a certain academic arrogance that, we are IITians, and God bless, they are my alma mater and I love them a lot. But there is this arrogance that, we are IIT, we are the best, so therefore we don't never need to change. Whereas education is dynamic, the world is a dynamic place, so education is dynamic too. Look at all the IITians who opened our .com. Many are there in this conclave. They are. No IIT teaches you how to open a .com. They have all opened it on their own. It's just that it's an excellent filtering mechanism. You meet a lot of like-minded students who are like you. But where have they learned how to open a .com business and raise private equity money? Who taught them? They did it, no? So I think that it's not something the course is doing as much as it needs to change.
Departments don't exist in IIT. There are lots of engineering departments, but the humanities departments are very, very small.
Let me just take that to you, Anand Kumar. The quality of teaching. I mean, you teach these young students, but let's be clear again. There aren't enough. If you're in a small town, I just don't have the quality of teachers in my critical years. Let's say between 6 and 16, when I'm shaping my ideas as to what I want to do in the future. Is there क्या टीचरों की बड़ी समस्या है? क्वालिटी टीचरों की बहुत बड़ी समस्या है.
क्वालिटी टीचर का नॉर्मल टीचर होने की भी समस्या है. हम लोग क्वालिटी टीचर की बात करते हैं तो आईआईटी को देखते हैं, आईआईएम को देखते हैं, लेकिन छोटे छोटे स्कूल में आजकल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट बेसिस पर 4,000, 5,000, 10,000 में जो टीचर्स हैं वो कुछ नहीं पढ़ा पा रहे हैं और उन बच्चों का भविष्य क्या हो रहा है. वहां से लेके आप आगे बढ़े
तो उसका सोल्यूशन क्या है? इक्वालिटी ऑफ अपॉर्चुनिटी आप बार बार कहते हैं. ये इक्वालिटी ऑफ अपॉर्चुनिटी कैसे आएगी? क्या देश में 10,000 केंद्रीय विद्यालय की जरूरत है जहां अच्छे टीचर हो?
हमारा मानना है कि जो अभी टीचर हैं उनको अच्छे से ट्रेंड किया जाए, एक कमेटी बनाया जाए, वो मंजुल जैसे लोगों के मार्गदर्शन में चले और अच्छा क्वालिटी टीचिंग कैसे हो इस पर सरकार को जरूर सोचना चाहिए. और साथ साथ समाज का भी कर्तव्य है कि हम सब लोग चाहते हैं कि हमारे छोटे बच्चों के लिए, बड़े बच्चों के लिए अच्छे शिक्षक हों, अच्छे टीचर हो, लेकिन बड़ा बन के मेरा बच्चा भी एक अच्छा टीचर हो, ये मानसिकता हमारे देश में नहीं है जो होनी चाहिए.
Manjul, you have an interesting experiment. You're bringing global professors to come to India as part of this global academic initiative, or GYAN as you're calling it, to bring them to India to have short-term courses. Is that a short-term solution to a long-term problem?
Well, the hope is that it's a short-term solution that inspires people to take long-term measures. So in the first year we'll try to bring in about 100 of the best educators, best scholars in the world, Nobel Prize and equivalent scholars in their respective fields. They'll come and talk about their educational ideas. They'll come and talk about the current research, the cutting edge research in their respective fields. And they'll talk about the open problems that young people need to think about in order to move India forward as they become the country's leaders and innovators.
And they want to come to India. These global academics want to come to India.
Scholars definitely want to come to India. They've never been officially invited before in this way, but they're very excited about the prospect.
But that's the top end, Chetan. At the bottom end, and you made this point during the conclave, which was, let's say, Uber taxi drivers. I need better quality Uber taxi drivers. I need the dignity of labor question comes, but if the dignity of labor question is not solved, then this demographic dividend of having this large workforce in that crucial age
demographic disaster
is a demographic disaster. How is that? Is that really at the bottom of the pyramid? How are you going to encourage people to get
that is where the
jobs?
problem is. I think at the top level there are issues whether IITs should be left brain, right brain, very valid issues. But the bulk of the problem is this 1 crore people, and I think giving skills is very labor intensive. You need a teacher to teach, and we may even have to shed this. We may have to use the technology available today. Maybe there is one teacher for a cluster of schools and they all watch YouTube videos and the teacher guides them to it. We really, because हम नहीं बना सकते, 10,000 नए केंद्रीय विद्यालय नहीं बनने वाले, वो टीचर नहीं मिलने वाले, आप जितनी मर्जी कमेटियां बना लो. But maybe there is one good teacher who will be stationed in Patna and he will teach 50 villages from Patna and we can hire someone. Something like that. If we really understand the 1 crore number a year, then we need to come up with one good teacher for 10,000 students. Whereas right
with
now,
a technology solution,
with the
technology-driven
how
solution.
else will you do it? I mean, for 1 crore people, even if you say 100 students to a teacher, which is very, very high student to teacher ratio, you will still need 1 lakh teachers every year. Where are you going to get?
Okay, I'm going to ask all three of you. Then the one big solution, where we now have a skill development ministry in this country. I still am not sure whether a ministry is the answer to providing skills to this young labor force. But if you all had one solution, what would that one solution be to the minister in charge of skill development? You start, Anand Kumar, and then I'll go straight across.
जरूर वैसे बच्चों को सेलेक्ट करना चाहिए, अपॉर्चुनिटी देना चाहिए और सही मायने में हर डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेवल पर, ब्लॉक लेवल पर एक सेंटर खोलना चाहिए कि अगर आप जॉब ओरिएंटेड पढ़ाई करने चाहते हैं तो आप आइए और यहाँ पर पढ़े, और इस सेंटर की सार्थकता हो, कहने के लिए नहीं हो, तो सही में 5 साल में देश का भविष्य बदले।
So high quality vocational driven institutes need to be set up at the local level in every district, perhaps every tehsil of this country, with good quality teachers. Manjul?
मैं आनंद जी से बिल्कुल सहमत हूँ।
Oh, that's good. He's learned his Hindi. Manjul's getting his Hindi right. Good. And Chetan in his program said what? That in India, English is the wife and Hindi is the mother, and you've got to love them both.
You got to love them both, or whatever, if it's not Hindi or vernacular. But yeah, Hindi is like your mother and English is your wife. You have to love them both. Just don't say which one you love more. Then you'll get into trouble.
Your big solution,
My
Manjul.
big solution is
The big idea.
To have schools like the IITs of that prestige level, not just in engineering, but in liberal arts, in technical, vocational areas, in pure sciences, in humanities, and to have it across the board, top institutes, and also institutes to teach teaching, and make teaching a prestigious.
That's a good point. Institutes to teach teaching. Final word to you, Chetan.
Just you know, 2 things. One is just give people what is adding value to their lives. Engage students, industry, come up, revamp the curriculum to give them what will give them value in their life, will help them get up achhe din themselves. And second is, I think you have to use technology just because we have so many people and we just can't build the infrastructure as the old-fashioned way here.
Okay. I think those are interesting thoughts from all 3 of you. Appreciate you joining us. Remember, we keep saying we have a demographic dividend. We cannot allow it to turn into a demographic disaster. Anand Kumar, Manjul Bhargav, Chetan Bhagat, pleasure having you here on this special program on Headlines Today. And if you've been watching, thanks for watching. Goodbye.